Hello, wherever you are, and this is another video. My last video, I covered the wonderful, wonderful work of Don Mancini, right? So basically, one of the things I covered was the Chucky series that's going to be coming out, yes. And I was looking on Bloody Disgusting, which was the last source of stuff I had on Don Mancini's latest, as well as the Chucky. Actually, I think yeah, I covered the talisman, and then before I had looked that up, I basically had seen that there was a Chucky thing coming, so I decided to cover the work of Don Mancini, kind of like a anthology, so to speak, which I did. But the cast for Chucky includes none other than Devon Sawa, and Devon Sawa is one of the ones from Final Destination as well as Hunter x Hunter. And basically, the Chucky series is basically going to be on USA and Sci Fi and stuff, right? So there's also more to the cast, such as Zachary Arthur, thank you, from Transparent, Tio Briones, Ratched, which I know I just butchered that, I'm sorry. Björgvin Arnarsson, Pin 15. All these names get more and more complicated. Oh, and Olivia Alin from The Young and the Restless. Substar, I guess. So, from Mancini and Nick and Tosca, Channel Zero, which was something he worked on. Chucky will arrive later this year. And Brad Dourif is going to be the voice of Chucky, and Jennifer Tilly, of course, will be Tiffany. So it's good to see all this going on. Um, you know, with two of the originals, Jennifer Tilly, that was one of the first roles I remember seeing of hers that I was very, very much sold on. She was very amazing. And Brad Dourif, he has done other things as well. Of course, some other things where he's, I don't know. Jennifer Tilly also, I believe, had a thing on Family Guy and countless other wonderful things. So, uh, this it's a fresh take on the franchise. Explore Chucky's character in a depth that is uniquely afforded by the television series format. So kind of like an in-depth what makes Chucky tick and stuff. So basically, after a vintage Chucky doll turns up at a suburban yard sale, an idyllic American town is thrown into chaos. Surprise. A series of horrifying murders begin to expose the town's hypocrisies and secrets. Meanwhile, the arrival of enemies and allies from Chucky's past starts to expose the truth behind the killings as well as the demon doll's untold origins. As a seemingly ordinary child who somehow became this notorious monster. So that's pretty good. Mancini explained to Sci-Fi and Wire last May on the show that their mission is to preserve its straightforward scariness of the original film or the first couple of films, but at the same time continue on with the ever-expanding tapestry of constant story that we've spun over the course of 7 movies in 30 some odd years. So, yeah, hard to believe. It's been 30 years, man. I'm 40 and I still can't believe it's been 30 years. 30 years. And of course, I was born in 81, which was when, around the time that, I think it was a little bit before that, but Friday the 13th was coming onto the scene fresh. Quite fresh. I don't know, 79 or 80, late 70s, early 80s, the first Friday the 13th dropped. I know Nightmare on Elm Street was pretty much, yeah. And I mean, don't you just love those retro looking movies? They're amazing, aren't they? I think honestly that retro is way better. The Tales from the Dark Side series and stuff, and Tales from the Crypt. Tales from the Dark Side, though, I used to have all the seasons before my hard drive crashed. And it was probably the best viewing I had seen in a long time. I prefer the look of the 80s, 70s, somewhere in there to that whole thing. The hairstyles, the way the camera looked, the way the people looked, the way they dressed, everything. Love it. And I'd just love to go back in time with the age I am now, maybe like 10 or 20 years younger, and explore the 80s. Things were so much better back then, I think. But I'm an 90s kid all the way. Nirvana, Smashing Pumpkins, love them. So, I don't know, man. It's a toss up. 90s were awesome, though. I loved it. I know there was a lot of things in the 90s, like Clueless and stuff. That was cool. Mallrats, and yeah, 90s were awesome. The 80s, though, were pretty awesome as well. Uh, yeah, I like the horror movies from the 80s. Uh, I don't know. The others, I've always been a horror movie fanatic at heart, even the 90s horror. Anyway, we won't talk about 2000s and beyond because everything kind of changed after the 90s. Somehow after the 80s as well as a general rule. But 2000s and on kind of, yeah, a few good ones, but I don't know, man. Leaves a lot to be desired, I think. But anyway, yeah, 30 some odd years, man, of Child's Play. It's interesting. I even have Chucky stickers on the back of my laptops, and as well as in my car on the passenger side. And if they don't like it, they can not hitch a ride because Chucky may just teach them something. Anyway, so Mancini also went on to say that he thinks the prospect, yeah, thank you, the prospect of seeing Chucky sharpen his skills, add to his toolbox of the technical goodies that we have at our disposal now. That's something I think people will find pretty interesting. It's so important to give Chucky new weapons, new strategies, new targets, new goals. He has a different goal in the TV show than he's ever had before, and it's specifically something that is designed to evoke something that's going on in the zeitgeist today. So you think about it, 80s, right? 80s, 90s, right? What do we have? Right, we had Nintendo, we had Commodores, we had everything. I remember Commodores, man. A lot of times I had one that was rather old, and I remember you would have to type in ready and lots of codes, man. I mean, like you could like program like thing if you know how to type, you're for like half the day, hunt peck, and like it would come up as like a line, a wavy line or something, and all that. And man, that was like the earliest computer I remember. In fact, I think that was the earliest. Okay, that was the 80s, so yeah, Commodores. Then you had Apples. Then you had a whole bunch of this, that, and the other come out. So, in the 80s, you played outside quite a lot, drank from the hose, stuff like that. And that's really not something you see anymore, to be honest, is drinking from the hose, especially playing outside. That's like something that is not very well heard of. And it's pretty, it's changed quite a lot. So, like back then, you'd think about iPads, uh, iPhones, cell phones, man. Uh, back in the beginning, you had like a car phones, you know. Yeah, like the corded rotary phones and junk, you know. And then all of a sudden with touchtone, it was to the point to where it was, you know, press one for this, press two for that. You know, to hear these options again, press star and or whatever. Right now, nowadays it's like you have the cell phones and you're on hold for like a million hours, and you're like, you know, because back then you could like, you know, reach customer service and there's a, you know, operator, how may I transfer your call or something, right? So it's like, yeah, I'd like to pay him a bill. Okay, one moment, please. And they would send the thing over. Well, someone got tired of that and invented the automated system. Wow. And then you have some automated systems. It's like, please say your credit card number. Okay, 4321894. I'm sorry, I didn't get that. And 3001. Did you say 3224? Yeah, that kind of thing. There's actually this YouTube video where these people speak very clearly, and the computer that's hearing them totally just keeps asking that they said 8 instead of 0 or something. I don't know where it's at, but you should check it out. I think it's like stupid phone doesn't understand English or something. I don't know. And these people had actually selected English. You have English, Spanish, some international things. Facebook has Portuguese and all this. You know, that you press 3 for this, 4 for that. In my opinion, automated systems pretty necessary, but to say the least, have been the center of frustration because if you just want to, you know, get somewhere ASAP because you're on lunch break and you don't have all that much time, you have to wait. You have to wade through things like 10 minutes and enter your last for your social and mine is 0000. You know? Yeah, that's why I tell all those scammers from Social Security that call scammers. It's like, can I get your name, please? Yeah, it's Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay, Mr. Jeffrey, can I have the last four of your social? 0666. And, you know, stuff like that. And they go, okay, Mr. Jeffrey, you were involved in drug trafficking down in South Texas. Were you ever there? Okay, yeah, I passed through there once or twice. I mean, I have fun with these people. But, yeah, the thing is, I give a fake date of birth like 1031 of 66 and then faintly say another 6. And they totally fall for it. I even said that my name was like John Wayne Gacy or Mr. John. You know, Mr. John, really. Did I say my name was Elton John? John would be my last name, and that's the only John I can really think of right now would be Mr. John. It was Elton John. You know, and Mr. John, Mr. Richard, you know, for Richard Ramirez, Mr. Richard. Um, and then, you know, you laundered this much money, 2.3 mil. So I wish I knew where it was now, you know, that kind of thing. Anyway, back to the whole thing. Yeah, but yeah, can you imagine though, like Chucky having these gadgets we have these days, uh, Roku's and everything else, you know, it's just insane how far we've come from the 80s, is all I'm saying. And you know, it's just amazing. So I thought I would feature for the last part of this video, which I probably just wasted 5 minutes rambling on. Brad Dourif. Yeah, kind of highlight his whole career and stuff in a nutshell. Huntington, West Virginia can be very proud. He was born March 18th in 1950 and son of John Mavis Felton and Jean or Jean Henry Dourif. Yeah, Jean. Thank you. I was right on. a French-born art collector who owned and operated a dye factory. But unfortunately, his father died when uh, Brad was 3 years old. And after that, his mother married um, Bill Campbell. So I did not know that Brad's father passed when he was young, and it's a pretty sad deal, man. I feel bad that happened. I really do, but it must have been hard for him to do that, to have to deal with that, with his father passing. So sorry to hear. Um, so he attended a prep school in Aiken or Aiken. I told you my eyes are bad. Aiken, South Carolina, where he pursues interest in art and acting, which served him quite well, really, considering how well he is. Um, he briefly considered becoming a professional artist, but settled on acting. And his mother had a huge impact on that. She was an actress in community theater. Not bad. Um, he began school productions, but then progressed to community theater. He joined the Huntington Community Players. And he was a university student at Marshall University of Huntington. However, uh, at 19, he said, I've had enough. I quit, and he headed to New York City to the Circle Repertory Company. So during the 70s, he appeared in a number of plays off Broadway and at Woodstock, New York, including Milos Forman, who cast him in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Jack Nicholson also did that, I believe. That production as well. Um, and as a matter of fact, that was his debut film. Uh, he had a bit part in his first big screen appearance in WW and the Dixie Dance Kings. Yeah. He portrayed the vulnerable Billy Bibbit in Foreman's film, and that was his big break. Earned him a Golden Globe Award and Best Acting Debut, and a British Academy Film Award for Best Supporting Actor, an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. So they loved it. They loved it. However, he was skeptical. He returned to New York. Dourif was skeptical of his instant stardom and returned to New York. Continued in theater and taught acting and directing. Wow. At Columbia University until 1988 when he moved to Hollywood. Yeah, that's Professor Dourif. I could see it. He is a I admire his work very much. He's a very versatile and very talented guy. Quite a lot. So, he tried to avoid typecasting, but the intensity destined him to play eccentric or deranged characters. The Eyes of Laura Mars in 78, John Huston's Wise Blood in 79, which was arguably his best performance to date, and Milos Forman's Ragtime. Yeah, again, he dealt with Milos Forman. And he teamed up with David Lynch for Dune, the director for it. And Blue Velvet in 86. He had this high strung style, right? So ended up landing that kind of personality, the high strung personality, ended up landing him the role of the evil doll Chucky in Child's Play and its sequels, which I couldn't think of somebody better fit for the role. Uh, he was also in Mississippi Burning, Failed Beauty, Hidden Agenda, London Kills Me. He played the role of Grima Wormtongue in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He was in the PBS film The Mound Brothers, 76, and he made appearances in The X-Files, Babylon 5, Star Trek Voyager, Millennium, Ponderosa in 2011, and the rock band Toto had the song Stranger in Town, which he made an appearance. There's something for you to check out on YouTube, right? I don't know really of too many songs that Toto has done that I know of. One is Africa. I've never heard it. In fact, it's not really my style anyway, but the music video itself uh, for Stranger in Town sounds like something that I might check out just because of him. So I think there's going to be a spike in YouTube views for that video. So anyway, he's been married twice, has a kid with Jonina Bernice, divorced with one child, Janet Stephanie Charmatz. They don't know when they married, but 20th June of 1980, they divorced, and they have one kid together. So he has two kids. That's pretty awesome. So you can look for him to play eccentric or deranged characters. The deep, raspy, ominous voice often gets in the parts. It's that trademark that is a very defining feature of it. Frightening or expressive interpretations. That's another one of his things. Receding hairline and wild blue eyes. Yeah, that's going to be me one day. Receding hairline. I hope not, but hey. I hope I look as good as Brad Dourif whenever I do it right. So, yeah, his trademark, of course, is the voice of Chucky the doll. So that's cool. So, he has heard Dune, personally has heard Dune, described as science fiction's answer to Heaven's Gate. And actually, Dourif also starred in Heaven's Gate. That was cool. Yeah, and he was initially cast as a Scarecrow in Batman Forever, while Tim Burton was attached to the project. He wanted to cast Dourif as a Joker in Batman. Tim Burton did in '89, but the studio refused. Joel Schumacher eventually took over the project and instead cast Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face and Jim Carrey as the Riddler. In 2012, he contributed spoken word vocals to 3 songs of the album Misery Together by the Norwegian duo Thinguma Jigsaw, I guess. Sorry. So his 2 kiddos, Fiona and Christina, with a K. So his 2 kids. Actually, he has a grandchild. Wow. Caden Kali. I'll get it. Caden Kalani Kathaliwa Dourif. To know? Christina's kid. Yeah, there you go. Christina had a grandkid. Christina, his daughter, had a kid who was Brad's grandkid. Caden. Okay, so actually, many of the co-stars of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Yeah, thank you. Are the impression he's British because the British accent he used as Grima Wormtongue throughout filming. As a method actor, he kept his accent even though he was not filming. They were shocked to hear him speak in an American accent after filming was complete, and Bernard Hill believed Dourif was speaking the worst American accent he had ever heard in his life. Hey. He was considered for the role of Max Cady in the remake Cape Fear in '91. But that went to Robert De Niro. And he's appeared with Samuel L. Jackson in 4 films: Ragtime, Exorcist 2, Jungle Fever, and Amos and Andrew. The Exorcist 3, rather. I believe I left out one of the eyes. Next time I'll wear my glasses. The Exorcist 3. It all runs together. Sorry. So he's made 5 trips to New Zealand while the Lord of the Rings trilogy is being filmed. Had to shave off his eyebrows each time for the role of Grandma Wormtongue. And his father, who owned and operated a dye factory, died when Brad was 3. We knew that. I covered that before. And a graduate of Fountain Valley School in Colorado Springs, Colorado, in class of '68. So, Colorado Springs, rejoice. Of course, we already covered all that. The Marshall University, the teaching of the acting and directing classes. Still say I would love to have seen that. Been a student of his. Of course, in uh, I was extremely young in the '80s, so I don't think I was ready yet for university life. I would love to have been a classmate with him, though. Honestly, I would, just to see what he'd say next or do. So anyway, his father, right? So he was 3/4 French and 1/4 English Irish ancestry. And his mom was born in New York. His parents from Virginia and had ancestral roots in the English, deep colonial American roots also. So Brad is actually 1/4 Irish and 3/4 French, 2/4 English Irish, or 1/4 English Irish, 1/4 English, and 3/4 French. So I guess that makes 3/5 French, 2/5 English, and 1/5 Irish. Yeah, okay. Fits. There's no such thing as what was it, 5/4 or something. So anyway, he's worked with director Werner Herzog. Yes, I've heard of that name because of My Son, What Have Ye Done? Which is an interesting one. The Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, The Wild Blue Yonder, and Scream of Stone. Werner Herzog, I remember that name quite well. He's actually worked with him on 4 films. So he's appeared in 2 uh, Best Picture Academy Awards winning flicks for himself. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Jack Nicholson was also in that as well. It's a great movie. I'll see it. Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, and a lot of stage time on Broadway and stuff. Or community theater, really. Um, he's had a lot of stage time other places besides the big screen. One of his quotes: he prefers film to stage. He's always liked the rehearsal better than he's liked performing. And I'm the type of person, once I make a decision, I must execute. Maybe I'm a perfectionist in this way. That's unfortunately a lot of what a lot of people go through that's in the profession of entertainment one way or another. His thoughts on the universe. The universe is dynamic. When we are creative, we are most alive and in touch with it. If it wasn't for the devil, we wouldn't be here, would we? And Uh, he likes to play the role of the guy next door. He quotes and says, "Of course, I would like to play the guy next door, but nobody's going to hire me for that kind of role." So he would like it, but nobody will cast him. I guess he's just too good at being bad. Anyway, that is the morning edition. It is now a little bit after, well, it's a quarter after 4 here in Lawton, Oklahoma. Hope you've enjoyed. Subscribe, all that good stuff.